All right.
Welcome to Haunters Hangout. This is season 10, episode 9, and it's about
10. Episode 10.
Episode 10. No, it's 9. It's episode 9.
We had our MHC and Transworld show. You can tell how organized we are.
Okay, 10. That's a different kind of stuff. So it's episode 10. And we're going to do a YouTube prop maker show. And these are the people that spend the time to share with everybody. And it shows you how to make props. Where back in the day, where you couldn't get a person to share how to make a prop for nothing. These guys show you everything step by step. And we got Phil, the Philly cheesesteak, as our host today. And we got Pandora. She's going to be doing the prizes and the questions. So to start it off, we're going to show you what you can win for tonight's show.
Hey guys, welcome. Season 10, episode 10. This is our DIY Halloween Decor with your favorite YouTube makers show. Thank you so much to our guests for being here tonight. And thank you so much to our sponsors who every single show have wonderful prizes to give away to you guys. And tonight we have from Toxic Effects, a rotten pumpkin. From Horror Ornaments, we have a rattlesnake ornament. From Fright Night Studios, we have a pig leg. From Scarlet Badges, 10 assorted badges of your choice. From 916 Productions, $25 off your order. From the Halloween Shirt Company, a free shirt. From Foggy's Fog, a gallon of bog fog. From Ned's LEDs, an FX controller with 2 peepers. From Drop Dead Design Studios, 25% off your order. From Nightmare Makers, 2 unfinished skulls. From Sam Haynes, a free download. From Atmos Effects, a free download. From Fright Props, $25 off. From Rotten Prop Works, a set of zombie arms. From Monsters Alive, a grab bag gift. From Cobwebs and Candlesticks, a grab bag gift. And from Monster Tutorials, thank you, Eduardo, a guest tonight, a sticker pack, a full sticker pack of Monster Tutorial stickers. Thank you so much, Eduardo. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Please make sure you visit them for all your haunt needs. And I'd like to remind everyone to please make sure that you give the StreamYard app permission to show your name so that I see who is actually commenting tonight rather than it just saying Facebook user. I would greatly appreciate that. So you go to facebook.com/StreamYard to give the app permission for us to see your name in the comments. And with that, Philly cheesesteak, medium rare.
And then just to show you guys what we're talking about is, Facebook user, you'll see that at the bottom it doesn't have your name versus somebody who gives StreamYard the permission. You get your name and your profile picture. So it's a big, just nice little shout out for yourself. So yeah, welcome everybody. We're here for our prop making show. We have a great panel of YouTubers that on their own time, they take the videos, actually edit them, and post them for us to be able to watch. So thank you guys.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes. I know I used to do that. It's a lot of work, and I give you guys credit for continuing that. So thank you very much. And we'll get started with introducing our panel tonight. So Eduardo, why don't you kick the night off and introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Eduardo Talbert of Monster Tutorials. If you guys don't know it, it's monstertutorials.com. It's a YouTube channel, website, and Instagram, the whole bunch of platforms. I started my YouTube channel in 2015 after going to a Halloween party, and that kind of woke up the curiosity in me to make something, because I always tried to be artistic, but I'm always worked in fields that are not very creative, like accounting and internal audit, and now I'm a data engineer during the daytime. So making Halloween stuff was awesome. When I went to that party, it took me back to how much I loved Halloween when I was little. So I started on that party. They had decorations, and I said, I bet I can try and make some of these. That guy had an awesome mummy bust. It looked like it was from the 70s. It had rotten halfway. And I said, I bet you I can do something like that. And I started, just researching the internet, joined some of the bulletin boards. And then I said, I'm going to start making my own stuff and just kind of documenting it. And that's because if I showed it to my kids at that age, they absolutely loved whatever I did. It didn't matter what it was, right? If you piece of paper, oh, that's awesome. And my wife's super supportive. She likes everything I do. So that too. And my kids now are teenagers, which means they don't like anything I do. So I wanted to go ahead and put myself out there to people that I don't know, because I'm super shy, super reserved, a lot of social anxiety. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? Make a video and put it out there and let the people out there decide if it's cool or not. And one video led to the other and the other, and people seem to have liked the style or something. I'm not sure. I know I get comments that they like it, but I don't know what it is that made it grow the way that it did.
Cheers to you, my friend. I'm super happy for you. Well done.
And then I've been doing it part-time. So on my job it's like a full-time job, corporate, cubicle, everything. So I have maybe an hour or so a week maybe to work on the YouTube channel. So when I do that, I try to make sure it's the best hour possible. So if it's if your editing is the best possible editing, if your shooting is the best possible shot, if it's editing, getting the story to flow and be consumable and not bore people or have them not be engaged with it. So I became very interested in that craft of not only making the prop, but making the video and then distributing that information to whoever wanted to see it, and people wanted to see it. So here we are.
Very good.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mine's more like a drunken stupor trying to figure out what I'm talking about.
And before I move on to Jay and Jamie, I just want to let the viewers know, if you guys haven't seen already, Hangout or Facebook in general is glitching tonight. So everything is going in reverse order. It's going oldest to newest. It's out of our control. So if you see anybody who's asking, you have to actually filter by new post and basically see the Hangout. And if you see anybody who's commenting asking where the show is, guys, just please lead them to here. We pinned it to the top of the Facebook page, so it should be under the feature tab. So please just share it there, and your help is greatly appreciated. All right, so Jay and Jamie, why don't we jump over to you guys and introduce yourself?
Hello.
Hey guys.
Yeah, so we're Jay and Jamie. Our YouTube channel is Wicked Makers. We also have Instagram, TikTok, things like that.
That's it.
That's it.
We let's see. We started.
Oh, that's it. That's it. But you know.
About 3 seasons ago is when we really got going with Halloween videos. I think our YouTube channel is maybe 4 years old or so, and we started off as more of a general DIY kind of variety, like just making woodworking and kind of whatever we wanted. And then I think when as Halloween season rolled around, we started making props, and because we were building all that stuff for our house long before YouTube. Like we have a huge haunt at our house that as I'm sure a lot of you, like people come from all over to check it out. It's really exciting. And then we kind of realized one day, like Jamie had like this epiphany where we were like, wait, we could do both of those things. We could do video, we could do DIY, we could do videos and Halloween. And then so we tried it one season and it just like immediately worked really well. Audience responded well. So we kind of realized like, being inspired by other YouTubers like Eduardo, for example, like love your videos, and just seeing that there was a big need and a big ask for content like that. We just got hooked and started trying to. I would say our thing is like we try to make really like we get inspired by like Pirates of the Caribbean and like things you might have seen somewhere else before, and we try to like recreate them in a way that you could do at home, but not in a way that's like going to be super expensive, of course, or like really hard to do. So the challenge of taking something that looks really, really neat or really impressive and simplifying it and demystifying it so that you can watch a video and hopefully be like, hey, I think I could probably do that this weekend. Try it.
Right.
What else?
Backgrounds?
Yeah, what's your background?
Okay, yeah. So I've always loved Halloween. My birthday was around Halloween, so it was always kind of like that special time. When I always decorated our house as a kid, even though we only got like 4 trick-or-treaters. Didn't matter, still decorated. And then, let's see, I spent a couple of years working in special effects. I got to work at Stan Winston's and Spectral Motion, so I learned a lot of the prop making techniques there. And then as soon as we rented a house and had an actually opportunity to build more props, we dove right into it.
Our first big prop was a mummy also.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, like the whole I got to stand very still and get wrapped in saran wrap and do the before we were married too, so it was a good trust exercise. It was a lot of fun. My background is more in 3D and in animation. So I went to animation school and I've worked either in the film and video game industry or adjacent to it for about 15 years. So I'm pretty comfortable with body posing and a lot of the camera stuff and video editing and stuff kind of is adjacent to my background. So a lot of that stuff came naturally, which was super useful for trying to make the content that we're making and try to make it fast and efficient. And similar to Eduardo, again, we're not full time. We have 2 toddlers at home and I'm working full time. So it's kind of a weekend and nighttime thing and do the best we can to get videos out. And we tend to like most of our content, as you'd expect, is kind of August to October timeframe. So this year we're trying to make a ton of videos and like bank them all up for the busy season. So
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, that's us.
Well, thank you guys. Great. Yeah. By the way, if for those viewers and for you guys too, if you didn't know, usually we do a drinking word.
Not prop, not prop.
I think tonight is going to be prop. So every time we say prop, we're going to have to do a cheers and take a quick sip.
I don't have enough. I don't have enough.
Yeah. And you guys can actually see me drink this time because my camera will always be on. This is crazy. So, with that being said, Dalton, we have you up next. So why don't you give us a little background?
Uh-oh. Hello. I am also Diddy, also known as Dalton James. And I'm sad I don't have a drink to participate.
Oh, no.
But I've been doing prop design for about 13 years now. Started when I was about 12 or 13. And it all really began a lot of video game prop replicas. Got into a lot of cosplay stuff. Never cosplayed myself, but I really liked making props and armor pieces. And from there is where I really started getting on YouTube. I had to post a project one time for a class, and it was really fun. And so I started just kind of documenting all the things I was working on, because I was dead set on being a big name in the special effects industry and stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to start documenting everything I do now. It'll be great for my portfolio once I'm done with high school and all that stuff. But it turned into its own thing that I enjoyed a lot separately from that. And you can still find me there today, youtube.com/DALTODITY. And yeah, after I had so much fun doing YouTube stuff, I had people starting to ask me if they could buy some of the props I was doing. So I began selling on Etsy, going to conventions, setting up booths and stuff like that. And I did that for quite a while until I got into the event and exhibit industry for a little while, where I did pretty much the exact same stuff I was doing on YouTube, lots of prop and much bigger props and set design for large-scale events, booths at exhibit, that sort of stuff, and had a great time there. And while I was there, I was still doing YouTube, of course. That's when I got into throwing very elaborate parties for my friends and just filming me making the decor and the parties themselves, which then turned into building escape games into said parties and documenting that. Until about a year and a half ago, I actually got a job helping build and now manage a pirate-themed haunted attraction and escape room. So had a little.
That's
Congrats,
awesome.
That's great.
It's been great. I've had to take a little break from YouTube. You'll notice about a year gap, but things have settled down there, so we'll be starting up soon again.
See, I had to get a refill. That's not a good drinking
I
word,
know.
guys.
Nate
Just
already
Yeah,
said
there you go.
You
Nate
started, and
knows.
I'm like texting my wife. I'm like, I need a refill. Not a good drinking word. Pick something else.
Dalton, you'll have time to go while we're going through some photos. You'll have time to go get a drink if
I'll
you
have to
want.
go run.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dalton. That's great. And let's see. Yeah, we're almost halfway to Halloween, guys. So holy crap, this is crazy. It's almost
Can't
here. I feel the pressure already, man.
Just a couple more days.
There's so many things to do.
April 30th. Yep.
I know. Well, without let's get into some pictures here. So, Eduardo, I'll start sharing some of your work that we have here.
Okay.
So now this tombstone here, what did we start with? Just is this foam? I'm assuming Home Depot, white foam, pink foam.
That's insulation foam, the blue kind. That's what they have here in Tennessee. I don't have the pink one. I think it was like almost an inch, but not quite. Maybe 3/4, I think. Yeah, so I had to do 2 layers, and then on the skull, 3 layers. And I was trying to make some animated tombstones, and that's inspired by Nightmare Before Christmas, obviously, and that's how it turned out.
Oh, looks great, man. Love it.
Thank you. And that's just painted. I'm trying to get into the coatings to make them like weather resistant, but that's just paint right there. So that one is sitting right somewhere back here for now. Right, on a dry day I take it out, but other than that it stays here.
So how did you go about getting the texture on the side here? Is that just the paint dry, or is that actually like texture you put into the foam?
No, heat gun, right? And then the guys from Hot Wire Foam Factory sent me their tools, and that's what I used to engrave all the cracks and the epitaph, or whatever you call the RIP, and then a Dremel tool. Just had a Dremel tool on the video of this one. You can see me dremeling those eyes out and the teeth and whatever, and ended up kind of like with a 3D view, which I really like. So I'm gonna start doing more of these.
Eduardo, Sean Boswell would like to know, what type of brushes do you use to paint your props? Brushes or a spray gun?
This was with brushes, and it was just the cheapest one I could find at the dollar store. It was what do you call it?
Chip
just
brush.
sponge brush. They come like a pack of like 10, real cheap.
Oh, the chip brushes. Yeah.
And you put like a base, a darker gray base, then kind of dry brush with a little bit of pressure on a lighter, and then the lightest was the white. And I put that kind of at the areas where the sun would bleach a tombstone. But I left it at that because the idea was to show the animation of the tombstone and not, like the finish of it. But it turned out pretty cool. I was going to do like moss and everything, but I had to focus on what the video was about, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Yep. Keith Rick would like to know, have you rented a studio yet, like you were planning to do your builds in?
I would love to. Right now, this is the studio. It's an extra room in the house. This was supposed to be the formal dining room, I suppose, and my wife was kind enough to let me move in here with the studio. Unfortunately, this is an indoor room. I cannot do a lot of like burning foam and some of the really dirty things. So I think eventually I'm gonna have to get a studio, but that's down the road right now.
Excellent. What are we looking at here, Eduardo? He's creepy.
That was inspired by Krampus and by the picture of that one. I think it's from the movies poster, and then and that is a dollar store skull, right? And I just cut a hole. The hole they have like a little smiley face. I don't have one here, and I just cut a huge hole, and I made those gums out of like Fimo clay. At that time, that was the technique that I knew was Fimo clay with nail polish to make it shiny and wet. I wasn't using the epoxies or any of that. And the teeth, I just bought a set of teeth from Amazon. On those, they're supposed to be for making real temporary teeth for people. So they have like all the range of colors from like AA1, which is the white, all the way to brown, I guess. No, I don't know. And you buy the set, and it was like 5 sets for $20. So acrylic teeth. So I just put them into the Fimo. To make the indentations, then took them out, baked the clay, put it back out, and then grabbed super glue, put them in, painted it pink, and then
Fimo, the polymer clay, yes.
Yeah, that's buffalo snow on the beard that I stole from one of my wife's decorations over here. And
the other holiday, right? The other holiday.
Yeah. And then, the horns were also stolen from one of I think she had some little horns on one of those headbands. And I just like popped them out and then screwed them into the dollar store skull with that Santa hat. That Santa hat I also stole it from somewhere around here. I cut it open and just laid it on top of the skull. And then the face, I think I did put like one layer of toilet paper to give it texture, and it dry brushed with white and black. And I didn't do a tutorial on it. I was just sitting there watching a movie and I was playing with it, and that's why it turned out.
Looks really good. These guys are great.
Yeah, that was my first foray into. This was after taking Monster Camp with Alan Hobbs. I wanted to do a small version of making a sculpt of a face and then a mold, and then pour latex into it. And I just this one it turned out to be 2 videos because it was so complicated. So I sculpted the face. I then did the mold, and then I poured the latex in. And when it came out, I filled it with foam, that's expanding foam that I got from, I think it's Breaking the Yard, one of those foams that are like really no good for you if you breathe it. And then I just decorated it. That is sprayed with alcohol inks on the face, and then I hair punched eyebrows just to see how that would look. That hair on it was from an actual. For some reason here, when you go to Goodwill, there's a bunch of hair for sale. And it's like extensions that are like fake and there's real. And my wife found this one and gave it to me to make a prop. And that's some real hair from somebody that might be alive walking somewhere in the earth or might be dead. I don't know. I glued the hair and then I just, it looked too simple. So I put the toothpicks to the nose and then I tied them out. Because my dad used to tell me stories about shrunken heads because he worked in the Amazon for a while building a pipeline down there. I told me that they would close the mouth and sew the nose so that and the eyes as well, so that the stuff wouldn't come out, and that they had a secret on how they made the head shrink. And then we found out that you boiled and pulled the skull out, then you put in the sun and the skin just shrinks to the shape.
Hmm.
And this
Okay,
stuff
I
is
didn't
like
even know. I didn't even know that.
wood shavings.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, no, it's pretty creepy.
Wow.
So yeah, and then I mounted it on a little round Michael's thing. That is a half skeleton I found somewhere in Lexington, Kentucky, in a it was a Goodwill, right? And it was half a skeleton. It was somebody told me it was a prop that they sold at Target one of the years, and I just took some latex, liquid latex. I took the fibrous stuff. It's just we call it spider web, the stretchy stuff you buy during Halloween.
Yes.
Laid over and stretched around, and then dabbed with a ton of liquid latex to make like the globs of like flesh. Then it's dry. Then it's stained with just wood stain. That's all it is. And the skeleton was red. So what you see through is red, which looks kind of bloody. And then the hair is glued from, I don't know, when my wife finds something at Goodwill that I might like, she gets it. And it was like this huge beard that was white. And I started cutting pieces and gluing it on the head. And then later in time, what I did is I took that one and I popped the eyes out because my skill level was like ping pong ball skill level. So that was our ping pong balls, and I replaced it with some really cool zombie acrylic eyes. Not acrylic, I mean resin eyes. So yep.
I love how your wife supports your hobby here.
Yeah,
She finds something and she's like, "Whoop! Oh, yep, Eduardo's gonna build something with this."
I love his teeth too. The teeth
Christopher
are awesome.
Presley would like to know what's your favorite corpsing process, Eduardo?
It depends what you're trying to do. If you're going to like kind of like a assembly line, just shrink wrap and then wood stain. But if you have time, do this. And then I've seen some people do like the carpet glue with the heater gun, and that also makes some awesome fibers. And they're cool if you hang them from the jaw. That was another trial at sculpting. So I sculpted a brain. I made a mold, and that's a latex brain. And I put expanding foam in it, and then it was painted with more liquid latex, but mixed with food coloring to give it that pink. I have a green one as well, and I just added some eyes to it, and then stuffed it into a skull just to make it look like some sort of operation. And the skin is just liquid latex that I laid flat. But it had pre-stained kind of pink or gray, whatever you want it to look dead or more alive. And then you peel it off and just I wrapped the whole brain with it and then cut the holes and put the forceps. My wife works in the medical industry, so they throw a lot of these forceps away once in a while. So she brings them home, and that makes for perfect. They make good tools, and they're good for prop making.
Man, you got a good wife there, man.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
What do you use to get the shine, Eduardo?
On the brain,
that was Tracy.
It's liquid latex. Yeah. What you see right there is just liquid latex, and then some of the Walmart blood, and the Walmart blood sometimes dries pretty cool and shiny when it cures. That was my first latex mask ever, and that is one of those styrofoam wig heads. I couldn't get this on video because I was watching a movie again with my wife, and I just grabbed the styrofoam and started putting toilet paper and latex until I covered it. And then I just started Googling the pictures of Texas Chainsaw and saw the pretty lady mask one. I thought that was fascinating, and I painted it that way. I just made the makeup really exaggerated, as if that guy hadn't put the makeup on, but he's not obviously a makeup artist. So yeah, and then the edges, like the eyelids and everything, is just rolled up toilet paper to give it a little bit more volume, to sculpt it a little. And I cut it and then re-sewed it for where you see the different cuts, right? Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and it's just
Sean would like to know, where do you store your molds that you use to make for these types of props, and how long do they typically last for you?
So far, they're still here, and they store wherever I can fit them here. The only ones I had some big ones because I made a mask that looks like an alien, face hugger, and that one's pretty big because like that big. So that one I put in storage. But other than that, I have little molds here. I made some horns, and the brain and the shrunken heads, and they're little molds.
Yeah, it gets worse, man. It gets worse. The more you make, it makes you know your floor's full of molds.
Yeah, I'm trying to run out of space. So
Awesome. And then
Excellent.
Eduardo, are you looking forward to anything for the upcoming year that you have your eyes on to try to make?
to try to make, yes, I want to do a full latex mask the right way with the sculpting and the mold, right? But also what I've been working early in the year is kind of getting my schedule laid out. So I'm going to be in a bunch of the conferences and conventions, teaching some of the classes. This year it's going to be mostly eyeballs and maybe some tombstones. There's different things, right? But the most of the classes I'm teaching are either making eyeballs or making or how to grow a YouTube channel is the other one. And it's just the tips and tricks that I use to be able to grow it without having that much time. In other words,
There's been lots of questions about that already as well, so I'm sure we'll circle back around to that one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. And I'm teaching a class on the YouTube thing with Alan Hobbs at Midwest Hunters Convention. So
he's going to be at MHC. We'll see you there. Sweet.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Eduardo. We'll come back to you here in a little bit. We'll jump over to Jaime and Jay. So what do we got here, guys?
This is our slide. So this was made during, the height of the pandemic when everyone was still social distancing 6 feet away. So this was 6 feet long, and you could stand at one end and throw the candy down the chute, and the trick-or-treater would hold their bag at the bottom and catch the candy. It's made out of PVC pipe for the base of it and the tube. And then it's just, a target skull, I think, that we stuck on the top, and cheesecloth that's wrapped around there. I think we dyed it with some tea stain for that. Actually took apart our mummy for some of these cheesecloths because I didn't have enough. So, and then
reuse, recycle, repurpose. We love it.
Smiling at the bottom. The skull is like it's just laughing, like spitting out candy stuff. That was a happy moment. But
I was all over this one when you guys put this one out. I have one as well with a pumpkin head at the end. I was the second you did this, I was like, yes, thank you. The answer to my pandemic prayers.
Yeah,
with it now, right?
Sit out Halloween that year. So
yeah, this one. So our cat, who's pictured here, is an absolute monster. We love him. so he's like he loves to destroy everything. So we needed to make like a cat scratch house, and we got inspired by another video we saw that did a similar thing, but we made basically a Halloween version. So for that one, we made like you'd probably say this better than me, but we made like a wire armature and then blew up a giant balloon inside of it. So for the ribs of the pumpkin, we basically took like thicker gauge wire and made these ribs and attached them at the top. This is better illustrated in the video than I can do with my hands here, and then inside the armature, we blew up a massive balloon, and the ribs of the pumpkin were created by this armature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd seen smaller versions where they tie the string around the balloon to deform it, but that just did not work with the giant balloons. We popped many. Yeah, so the metal worked really well, and then we covered it in paper mache, and then did a layer of epoxy over it to like really harden it, and then lots and lots of rope, and hot glue. Yeah. Weeks of cutting tiny pieces of rope and then putting it over. And then Jaime sculpted like this amazing stem at the top, which is just made out of like a hemp, or sisal rope. And just layers on it.
And the cat loved it for like 2 days, and then I don't think he's touched it since.
This is our witch's cauldron. So starting from the bottom, the coals are made of great stuff with the the red Christmas lights inside, and we've done a light spray of black spray paint over that. The cauldron is. We started off. We gave it a base coat, then we covered it with some.
We started with we bought a cauldron from the store, so it's just like one of those basic plastic ones, like a real big one, and then a paint job.
Yeah, and then so the texture on that is Mod Podge and oatmeal.
I was going to say that is great texture on there. That does not look like the sawdust we typically see. Oatmeal, you said, yes?
It's oatmeal, and it was definitely difficult to get it to stick. Like it just wanted to drip off and fall. But we persevered and got through it. Covered in even more Mod Podge because we didn't want like animals getting it. And then
which they didn't.
They didn't.
No,
which is
that
great.
things like 3 years old now, and no rats or
No
animals
one
have
has eaten it so far.
We get a lot.
Wow.
So the oatmeal is great. Works really well.
And yeah, it's just painted with acrylics. We kind of gave it like a black and brown to replicate like a bronze kind of feel, and then dripped some kind of like a lime green acrylic down where the oatmeal stuff is. And then
There was a bit of a delay, but Scott had actually said, was there any issues with bugs or mice? So I'm happy to hear that there were not. There you go, Scott.
And yeah, then inside it is a couple of the ultrasonic misters, and so they're making the fog. And then you can't see it, but it's on like a tripod. And so at the very top of the tripod, we have just an outdoor green LED light shining down, and that's what gives it the green glow color.
Very cool.
Yeah, I find that the misters are like better for that. A lot of people use the fog machines, but I think the misters are probably the way to go. You know, you don't have to worry about it. As long as you got water in there.
If you can control the water, like that's actually only maybe like 2 inches deep at the top. We put like a platform inside, and it bubbles the water too. So in addition to the mist, it gives you this bubbling effect, which obviously adds to the the bubbling witch cauldron thing, which is pretty neat.
And I have found that there can
like
be
a couple
issues.
of them in there, or just one.
Yeah, there's two.
There's two in there. Okay. Yeah. Bob Bowie would like to know where you picked up your misters.
Amazon.
There you go. We love the Amazon.
Say that they didn't last very long.
They last a season.
They last about one season, yeah. Just being on 100% of the time, like they were. I don't know. They're not super expensive, but they don't last forever.
All right, so this was our card portal. This was inspired by a bunch of things. I had been watching the show Outlander for a while, and in that show, she goes through the stones. I was like, I want a stone portal like that. That'd be cool. And then Jay got some of the design inspirations from
Skyrim.
Skyrim.
Actually, we get a lot of inspiration from video games, and it's just all over the place. But so that is 10 feet tall. If you've never seen it before, it's
wow, nice,
incredible.
And, there's basically a projection screen in the opening, but the opening is tall enough for an average adult to walk through. So it's full size. It's like our big piece in our haunt in our yard.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's made from XPS insulation foam, which is just the standard like home insulation foam. 2-inch thick piece, right? 2 inch.
2 inches for most of it, except for the very front face where the light's shining through, and that's only 1 inch because we didn't want it too deep to have like shadows with the lights. And then it's just done, the way people do tombstones. So it's covered with the dry lock, and then painted with washes of acrylics for that. And then
lots of questions on this one, guys. Did you make your own digital download for this? And if you did, how?
Yes, great question. So we did make our own digital download, video, I should say. We looked all over the place. I mean, obviously there's a lot of places you can get digital stuff, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So we made our own. And we essentially, I guess to quickly describe it, I found a bunch of stuff that I wanted to combine. So we found kind of like a hellish landscape, and then we found like a swirling portal, and then we found like clouds, and we did brought them all into our editing software and basically combined them all into the exact effect that we wanted, and it perfectly fits the portal, and we could sort of color correct it and make it like the exact thing.
The exact proportion. Yeah, we do have a animation from Atmos in there of the demon that roars at you. But yeah, the rest of it was all stock footage and animations that we'd come together.
Sponsor shout out, Atmos Effects. Mike Clark would like to know, how is the portal stabilized or reinforced to stay upright?
Okay, so there are holes in each column. There are PVC pipes in each column that we secured with cement. And then so we stick, four poles of rebar in the ground, and then slide the whole thing over those. And it's withstood some pretty gnarly windstorms. So
yeah, we're in Central Texas, and there's massive winds, and it definitely has come very close to blowing down sometimes. But like if we have like a really like a proper storm, we'll go out. We'll either take it down for the night, or we'll try to secure it somehow. But yeah, there's quite a bit of concrete in the foot of each column to add as much ballast as we can to keep the weight on there. And then the top of it is not it's not super heavy, but it's there's sort of like a mortise and tenon setup where the columns sort of stick up into the top, and it's a really tight pressure fit. So it stays very well.
And
Awesome.
I just wanted to jump in. Where can I find a video of this? Was one Facebook user. For those of you that don't know, in the link for the live feed here, all their YouTube videos for all the panel guests here tonight, you could find all their YouTube pages and Facebook pages and all their social media links, basically, so you guys can watch all these videos that we might have or pictures of the work they've done. So.
And then the actual projection video, we offer that on our Patreon. It's
Speaking of the
totally minus the Atmos effect animation, because we can't give that one away.
Understood, of course.
Let's see if the video works. There we go.
Nice. Very well.
Oh,
So this is
excellent.
a rear projection technique. So in the doorway, there's illusion projection material, again from Atmos. And then it's projecting from maybe 12, 15 feet back.
Yeah, you
or
can
so.
see the projector light back there.
So it takes a lot of careful alignment of your projector and focusing it to get it sort of perfectly matching the opening. But when it's nice and dark, it works really well. It's not even like an ultra expensive projector or anything. It's a pretty basic one, actually.
Bobby Platt and several other audience members would like to know if you use a specific editing software.
So I use Adobe Premiere. The stuff, there's nothing ultra magical about technique-wise, what I use to make that video. A lot of if you're familiar with editing, I did a lot of masking to sort of make things like circular and feathering out so that things blend together and stuff like that. It was really just trying to creatively take a bunch of assets and combine them all into the effects. So there's not like any hardcore visual effects happening. It's pretty cool. It worked well. This is a dice box.
A secret key dice box.
Yeah.
It's a puzzle box that we made. And so the lid goes on, and then it doesn't open. So the secret to opening this is you take the little dragon off and you hold it on the side, and there's a magnet and a spring, and it pushes the spring in and releases the latch, and then you can pull the lid off.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, Don's listening. He's
Oh yeah. Yep. Little D&D magic right here. Yep.
escape room.
That one was crazy fun to make. We got inspired by the weirdest things. So at the time, our son was like 1.5, and he kept going in all the cabinets, and we had to buy these like magnetic cabinet lock things where you take like a magnet and you hold it up against the cabinet and it unlocks. People with kids might know what I'm talking about, but it's like you just hold a magnet to the door and it magically unlocks.
Yeah, like lowers it. Yeah.
And we were like, So we basically concepted this puzzle box the same way, where you use the magnet to open it. So that was cool.
Very cool.
This was our dollhouse makeover. So this is an old Fisher Price dollhouse that we found, and let's see, what did we do here? We gave it a base coat, and then we colored. We did all the white and the kind of light blue with acrylics. Then we went back in with some washes and some stippling. Then back after that with some dry brushing on the white. Let's see, the gates on the top and the roof are cocktail skewers and bamboo skewers that we spray painted black. The boarded up windows are just popsicle sticks that we dyed with just a wash of acrylics, and then some extra black acrylics on the edges. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, so there's a little Atmos animation in the top window there, and that's just done with a phone on that. Then lights inside. And then the pumpkins are little dollar store pumpkins that we carve faces into. And this dollhouse happens to have like a hollow column where the pumpkins are sitting. And we found they're called balloon lights. They're little LED lights that go inside a balloon. And so it was a perfect size to fit in that column, and then just the LED part of it stuck up through the pumpkin face.
I got so excited when you guys did that. You're speaking my language.
I didn't want to buy a whole bunch. I'm like, man, I need to buy some doll houses and make them, and that's all I want to do. I definitely want to do it.
Tim Johnson would like to know, how much time do you spend planning out the prop before you actually start building and filming?
It depends on the project a lot. I would say most of the time we plan about 50%. Would you say?
Of the project?
Of the project, yeah. It's like a strength and a weakness at the same time. Like we
have an idea of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We know what materials we're using, and we know the basic techniques that we're going to attempt to try. But a lot of it's not stuff that we ever built before. So
total Bob Rossett. We're just like, we have an idea, we go forward, we have a lot of happy accidents along the way. But we definitely plan the basics, right? Like the portal, for example. Like we know we need a lot of foam, so for something that's big and structural, we'll draw up some plans, so we know to like make the right cuts and not like waste a lot of stuff. But then we would build it and be like, oh, we didn't think of this really important thing, and now we have to like totally pivot and try something else. So
that's one of the things I really love about the way you guys film is you show the mistakes, you show the oops moments, so that and that's really brilliant, and I love that what you guys do. So I hope y'all visit their YouTube channel and take a look at all of that.
My video would be way too long if I showed all my oopses.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We'll come back to you guys shortly. So next up we got Dalton. Dalton, what we got here? I love I hate to say it, Pokemon, right?
Yes, actually.
Yes,
so
I love it. I love it.
It's a flashback. It's sort of like a sweet spot for me while I was doing all the event and exhibit stuff, but also still doing a lot of prop selling and stuff. So this is actually my booth that I would travel around to conventions with. I would sell both my goods, my wares, but also just to meet people, show off my set design. The rock work there around those wooden beams is some expanded polystyrene, like the absolute cheapest grade. I think I picked those sheets up at a dumpster behind my local HEB. And they're just all glued together and hard coated with paper mache paste, actually. And the wood beams themselves are actually extruded polystyrene that I carved to look like wood. And the whole thing is just a big PVC cube that those slid onto. And you can't see it really well, but the back wall is the same thing. It's got the same like little wooden archway and a rock wall behind it. Yeah, I loved going to those. It was so fun meeting everybody. I hope I get a chance to start doing it again.
Looks great.
This is another very early piece for me. This is a Deco shield from Legend of Zelda. This, I was big into Zelda and big into anything that required trying to replicate a natural texture. This is, I believe, L200 foam. It's like EVA foam, but it's just a little bit softer, slightly less dense. And it's 2 layers thick, about an inch. And I just carved it up pretty much the exact same way you would wood. Anytime I'm trying to replicate like a more natural texture, like a wooden finish like this, I like to go and look and see how people work with those actual materials. So before doing this, I watched a lot of people that did wood carving, and I watched a lot of videos of them doing that. And I took those same tools and technique and actually used it to carve the foam to try and recreate that same texture. For this one, I used a Dremel a lot of the time. And I actually like to use the, I can never think of what they're called. They're like the stone tips, the grinding tips, as opposed to a sanding disc. I find the sanding discs, even the the finer grains, they tend to tear at foam quite significantly. But if you get the grinding tip on there, the little stone, it will shave it off like butter, and it leaves it with a nicely finished surface that you don't have to then go in and try and sand more.
Are those the diamond bits, the metal diamond bits?
No, not the diamond one. The cheap ones, the cheap grinding. Yes, the cheaper the better with those.
That's right. Us hunters, we love cheap, don't we?
Oh yeah. It's just what works best with the material.
Trish would like to know, what paints do you prefer to use?
So on all props, anything flexible like that, L200 foam, I strictly use acrylic paints. And I prefer to use thicker bodied ones because then you can often get away with doing less sealing of the foam or hard coating it because the paint itself is so thick, it protects it as well as giving it color, which is the same here. This, I really love this. This is a Pokemon. It is Kakuna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a phase where what people really started liking that I was doing was I would take Pokemon and I would do them in this sort of style. I would try and imagine what they would look like if they were in our world. Not too much. I like to keep a little bit of a cartoony element to it, but I like to bring some life to them. And this is also L200 foam, just very thin sheets. I drafted a pattern first with some paper and then put it all together. And this is, I believe this one was coated with Plasti Dip, and then it was painted with thick-bodied acrylics and just some sheets to wrap it
Dalton,
up.
I'm not familiar with the L200 foam you're talking about. Is that similar to like
It's
the
EVA foam?
It's very. So it's the same. It is the same as EVA foam, but EVA foam itself comes like in different densities, and so then I don't remember what the standard is, like the sheets you get at Harbor Freight, but L200 is a little bit softer than that. It's a little bit easier to sculpt, and it's more flexible as well. So what I love about the cocoon, I have to do some cocoon soon, so I'm gonna kind of use that as a base, but then gore it up really bad. Should be fun. This guy is another Pokemon because I at the time was doing a lot of Pokemon, and I was big into faux taxidermy as well. But this guy was really fun. It was the first time I ever laid a bunch of hair like this, and the fur on it is actually some sort of wool chunky yarn. It was the same time when chunky knitting, like people knitting with their arms instead of like needles and stuff.
I mean, the big arm knitting, giant blankets.
Yeah. So like there was so much of that chunky, thick, woolly yarn everywhere, and that's what I used. I actually got some white and then dyed it a bunch of different colors that I needed and laid it all by hand.
There's so much that so many of us hunters can take from these techniques. And I loved what Scott said specifically about that Pokemon thing that you had in the back with the webbing around it and your interpretation of it, about how it would be fun to hide around random places and out of reach.
No, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. There's so many things within my work. Like I said, with the woodworking, I try to pull from every genre of art when I'm doing any sort of haunt-related prop, because there's just so many things that we miss out if we close our mind down. It's like, I only do scary things. This is the way we do things. If you open your mind to like all these other different genres, different styles of prop making, it opens up a whole world, and it's all it can do is elevate your art.
I love how you adapt though to it. That's what's key, and I really love your work that you do, man.
Thank you. That's what's fun about making tutorials as well as watching them. I don't think I've ever watched a tutorial on YouTube or anything and actually followed that tutorial to make that item. What I love about it is seeing the techniques that people use to achieve it. Sometimes even learning what not to do instead of what to do. Or there's just...
You should watch mine then.
I watched some of mine. I'm like, that was a great experiment on what not to ever do again in the future. Except this guy. This is one of my favorite things I've ever done. I think this is, no promises, but I think this is the last Pokemon I put in here. Love this one because he's spooky, for one.
Yeah.
And the method I used to make him, I did him during the pandemic where I had no access. I could not get out of the house to go get any materials. So he was made 100% out of scraps laying around from other projects. And the two big orb, you can't really see, but in total, he's about 7 foot tall with his hats.
Holy
The
shit.
balloons, yeah, the bigger sphere right there, the front face, is about 2 feet in diameter. And I actually made them using 2 giant balloons and went old school paper mache, like out of the recycling bin, and then hard coated it with some paper mache clay, which I love, by the way. Been using that forever. I always go back to it.
Michelle
And
would like to know what you used for the teeth. I'm sorry for the interruption before the
no,
comment
not at all.
disappears on
Please.
us. Yeah.
I talk really fast, so please interrupt me. Those are polymorph plastic. You know, the little beads you put into hot water. They'll use them for making tooth implants sometimes. You can get it on Amazon. It's just called Polymorph, as a brand name. But you can actually they sell it in the cosplay section of like Hobby Lobby and Michael's now. And it's really cool. You just drop the beads into some hot water and then you pull it out and it's a clear moldable putty. But once it cools back down, it's like this semi-translucent white hard plastic, and I use it for all of my teeth. And the hats are some more L200, one of my favorite materials to use, and they actually pump fog out of it because he's like a gassish Pokemon.
That's really cool.
Okay, I have to show it. I assume this is one of your followers, Dalton. Bruce says, your foam work is inspiring. I've watched your drunk friends carve pumpkins and a couple other drunk videos. What sort of grog get you going to do this stuff? And do you think it would work for him?
Any drinking videos, except I did finally get a drink.
Cheers.
Watermelon margarita, truly. Usually absinthe, honestly, in my videos. What I'm drinking. So glad you watched those. Those are my favorite to actually make. This one here is just a head bust sculpture that I had to do. This was actually a senior year of high school project for an art competition. And at the time, I think I mentioned this earlier too, I was big into artificial taxidermy, like of monsters and stuff. And my project needed to center around like environmental change or like catastrophes and stuff like that. So I sort of combined the two and just wanted to show like a very cute kind of magical animal, but sadly it's been killed and just used as an ornament. But he is completely sculpted out of polymer clay. I like to use I think it's Super Sculpey that's sort of translucent. And then he's painted on completely with alcohol paints, like European body art paints, I believe, like makeup. But I really like the way they go on so light and transparent. And so that's completely what I painted him in. And then the outside is actually more the paper mache clay because it just gets hard as a rock. It's amazing.
Yeah, it does. It does. I've had some that's lasted for like, I've had it out in the yard for like 3 years now, and
It's great. It's easy to make like water resistant. I've had some like at the beach in the waves, and it was completely fine. I don't know. I don't understand it. Magic. This right here, I show mostly. I had an affinity for oversized weapons that probably came from the cosplay world in me. This axe here is all extruded polystyrene, the pink stuff from like Home Depot. And there is a PVC pipe core running down the wooden handle of it. I just melted it with a heat gun and bent it into shape and then layered the foam over it, carved it. This one I actually used a lot of hot wires to sculpt. I used that a lot during this time period. Same with the entire blade. And then I hard coated it with wood glue. which
glue.
seems, yes, I like to get the Type On level 3. It's like exterior waterproof wood glue, and it's really thick. So it paints on really well if you do it in thin coats. And then I'll usually do like 3 or 4 coats, and it gets really solid. It's not flexible like the other stuff, and then it's also waterproof. I like to use it on a lot of my outdoor props. It's not good to like as a sealant over something you've already painted because it'll give it a yellowy hue unless you're going for that. But yeah, it's one of my favorite hard coats whenever I'm on
Now,
time.
I don't know. I might have missed it, but did you talk about the shoulder piece? How did you go about?
Oh no, I didn't talk about any of the armor. Period. This was the first like costume I ever built, and I really just wanted to make it a hodgepodge of different design elements I liked with armor. So it's not based on any character like from any time period or anything real. It was just different things I thought were cool and slapped it all over my body. And it's all more L200 foam, and the patterns, I think I made all the patterns for this myself as well. Again, I would just use paper pattern templates, like draw it over and over again until I got it right, like taping it together on myself, and then glued it all together with contact cement. And I believe all the armor pieces here are also coated with wood glue and painted up.
That's awesome.
I do use fiberglass and resins sometimes, not usually in my personal projects like these ones, like my prop building stuff. I personally don't like fiberglass. I will coat something in resin, but fiberglass is like the devil. I hate it. I have used it plenty of times. Sometimes it is the best option. Sometimes it is. If you have a lot of money and it's going to be outside or something, but I do not personally enjoy using it unless I absolutely have to. Now this guy
is amazing. I love him so much.
He's actually right here. Let me put him on real quick for y'all. He is a character I just designed one night. I think I was like daydreaming on my couch or something.
What's a hat? Oh, that's awesome.
I just was envisioning this mushroom, but instead of a stalk, it had a skull for a face. And so I drew up a design for it, like a full body character. And yeah, I just decided to make it. I ended up wearing him to the Renaissance Festival as sort of a creepy version of Toad from Mario. My boyfriend was dressed up as Princess Peach, and my best friend was Daisy.
Awesome. I
And
love
I
it.
was this creepy Toad with this staff to go with it. Just this wooden staff with more mushrooms, and I had all the like power up items hanging off of it. But
Amazing.
that is actually the skull on it. Started out as a pattern that I actually purchased from a cosplayer, came in with cosplay. If I can, and if I can afford it, and I'm like on a time crunch, I love when I'm able to buy patterns from other people. Saves me time and supports another small business. So it was a basic skull on it. It was just a basic skull mask, and then I sculpted all the features on it. So like the entire brow bone going down into the jawbone, the teeth, the nose. I sculpted onto it with EVA foam clay, which is basically like Crayola Model Magic if you've ever used that. It feels very airy, and when it dries, it's the exact same texture as EVA foam. So I sculpted it on there, and then the top of it is just a heat-formed circle sheet of EVA foam that I curled under using very extreme heat, and then lined the inside with some nice muslin. And the top, if you can see, it has, I really love the texture on this guy. All the bumps are just cotton and latex. And then what I like to do with all my latex props is I actually tint my latex and paint layer and layer until the color builds up. For me, it's a good indicator when I know the latex is thick enough to make it strong and sturdy. But then also, you don't have to worry at all about your paint sticking to it. You don't have to make special latex paint or like latex mask paint because the color is embedded into the prop itself and it'll last a lot longer that way.
I love it. Now, if the
I
EVA,
never
you said
thought
it's,
of that.
I didn't either. And so the EVA foam over the top, do you think a Warbler would work similarly?
Oh, absolutely. It would. I personally like this better just because you get that nice rubbery flexible texture, so it really looks and feels like a mushroom. But
Understood,
Warbler
yeah.
absolutely would.
Okay.
Looks like
So the
something from
EVA foam is
Coco.
likely a little more cost effective, I would assume.
Mm-hmm. And it's lighter.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Dalton. I mean,
Yeah,
got some
absolutely.
great stuff there. Some amazing inspiration from different areas. You know, just
I
shows
love it. Yeah.
you guys can start somewhere, and doesn't always have to be Halloween, but all the same applications are
Usually ends
used.
up
Whether,
Halloween.
yeah, usually, yeah, but it's used everywhere. It's, your applications are endless. So,
Unless your wife makes you do a Christmas present.
hey, don't say that word.
Not the C word.
Yeah,
See where
with being at the top of the hour here, we just like to make a quick break and, you know, like to say, for those of you that don't know yet, we are giving away prizes from amazing sponsors that we have. All you have to do is ask a simple question in the comments to our panel tonight, and you are entered in for a chance to win those prizes. And our show, if you don't know, is a prop show. So all the text or all the applications that go into making a prop, whether it's foam, um, all these other crazy stuff that we're going to get to tonight. But yeah, so I think that's the
We have some of your favorite YouTubers with us here
favorite
tonight,
YouTubers. Yep.
and we are super jazzed to have them. And I really love how they share their process from start to finish, trial and error. We all love hearing the errors because we know we're not alone. It
you
certainly
guys
helps.
said props like 10 times, all right? So
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Drink.
I had to turn the camera off because oh man, we've
And for
said props
those
too
of
many
you,
times.
and please remember also, we do still have some out there that are just coming up as Facebook user. Please go to facebook.com/StreamYard and give the app permission for us to be able to show your names. It's a Facebook privacy issue. That's why we need to have you give permission that we can show those on screen. So thank you so much, Phil.
Yep. And we're going to bring it back to Eduardo here.
Eduardo!
Hey, that's your dollar store skull bat, and
Wow.
I need like 15 of them.
right, and the whole thing is basically sheets of liquid latex. And like Dalton, I like to tint it. This time it was I used every single food coloring I could find, so to make it as dirty as possible. It became kind of like a brownish green, as you can see. And then what I did is I stretched the thing over the wings and glued it over, over the different bones, if you will, of the wing, with just like super glue, or I don't remember. I think it was hot glue or something. So yeah, the whole color is done just by the latex itself. I think I might have painted the face also, but and then I tried to do the chest, like it was kind of rotting. So that's also that might have been just corpse with shrink wrap. Yeah.
Yeah, Rue would like to know how you're getting such a high gloss on that. Is that just the latex, or are you coating it with the gloss?
What I do is I like finishing every single thing I do with latex with more latex, and at the beginning it's shiny. The thing is hanging over here, and it's not shiny anymore. It's kind of like a dull, like the mummy you're showing right now, like that. It's more of a matte finish.
Excellent. Those eyes are fantastic, and this is part of the class you'll be teaching is the eyeballs. Yes.
Yeah. This year is all about the eyeball. So that's the same mummy that you showed on the last segment. I took the ping pong ball eyes out, and I made these out of resin. It's just a basic white resin blank, and then depending on how you layer it, it becomes the look that you like. Now the secret for all of you guys for that zombie look is you take 5-minute epoxy from Harbor Freight and put like a 100th of a drop of a transparent white, what do you call it, airbrush color, right? The white. And you just put it right there over the iris, and with a toothpick, kind of like swirl it so it just covers the iris, and then just let it sit, because that 5-minute epoxy will self-level and it will take that round, cool shape. Now, after that, to make it even shinier, I put it back in the mold because the pupil is kind of flat. So I put in a mold with a little bit more of clear resin, which gives it that dome. And at the end, I just take a brush, a disposable brush, and more 5-minute epoxy, which makes it look like it's wet, and it's still sitting there and still looks wet a year after.
Nice.
Amazing.
And that's what we'll be teaching, right? So we're going to do like creature eyes, human eyes, animal eyes, different things, alien. So
That's great. Yeah. So for those of you going to Midwest Haunters Convention, Eduardo will be there teaching with Alan Hops, I believe you said earlier, Eduardo, correct?
yeah, with Alan, it will be like a YouTube class. And then at Texas Hunters Convention, I'm going to do the eyes. I might do the eyes at Midwest, and for sure I'll be doing it in Southeast Hollow Hunters Convention, I think, right now.
Awesome. Excellent. And
And
there's
I'm
a
doing
few
a free
people that would
webinar
like to know.
Oh yeah, and a free webinar on eyes, like free next week on May 7th, if you want to jot it down. And I'll put the link later. But yeah, I'm gonna be doing a free webinar on the resin eyes, so I can show you guys how easy it is.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eduardo.
Nice.
Zero. We have
Yeah,
zero.
love it. That's another Nightmare Before Christmas inspired prop, if you will. Prop. I said prop. Damn it.
Cheers.
Insulation foam. Again, I was trying the hot wire tools, right? And I was trying to figure out how to do it, and I just watched the movie, got some screenshots of it, and yeah, it was all the same thickness, which is what the cross at the top is. It's kind of, I think it's the same thickness as the other prop I showed you guys, the Tombstone. I think it's 3/4 of an inch thick, the blue kind. And then the tiles, I just took the 3/4 of an inch and sliced it down the middle, because one of the tools that they sent me was kind of the wire horizontal tools that you can like drag along the base of a table, and it sliced it in half. You ended up with two thin things. And I took just the long strips of that and just cut it with a wire all the way. That is sprayed with a base of black, I believe, and then dry brushed with gray and white, again, where the sun would bleach, like on the top of Zero's ears. I would make that white, and then I kind of like made the darker areas under it where your mildew or whatever would form, right? And that is foam. That and I love how it turned out. And I did treat it with a heat gun.
Great way to give it some depth too. And a real quick question from Christopher Presley, who wants to know if you freehanded the design on the front.
Yes, you can see it on the video. Well, what I did is I took a picture of it, like a small one, and I put it on over, what do you call it, like squared paper, and then I just transferred to something bigger using the same squares, just scaled it up.
Oh, the graph paper. Got it.
Yeah, graph paper. So
Okay.
if it was like 1 square here, I did 5 squares here, and then I just multiplied it and made then I put it over the piece of foam. That's a single piece of foam, so I cut it in that shape. And then with a Dremel tool, rounded it, because I noticed on the movie it's kind of like rounded. It's kind of like a relief, but it's round. It's not square. So I took the edges and just took the edges out, the eyes out, and everything.
Nice.
Fantastic.
There's a Walmart skeleton, and there's the easiest thing to make, except the eyes and the teeth are their own apart thing. But with the skeleton itself, I wrapped it in plastic, shrink wrapped it, and then I took a kind of great stuff and put some gloves on, and like slathered it all over the skeleton, and it turns out that that it gives you those little bumps that look like flesh, right? And then I base coated with red, and then dry brush with black, and that super easy looks like a roasty, like the barbecue from here in Memphis.
Roasty
I love the teeth, man.
That is thermoplastic beads, which is what we were talking about earlier. Dalton said you put them in hot water, and then I also did a tutorial on how to make the teeth by itself. And then I took all those techniques that I had put on a few of the other videos and made the eyes and the teeth. I took the top teeth out, but the bottom ones are not. That was my first burlap mask, and that is wrapped around a styrofoam thing. It doesn't fit anybody. I think it used to fit my youngest child when he was little. It doesn't fit anybody anymore, so it just sits on a stake. The eyes and mouth are little containers. The top ones is the containers for film they used to have when we had film cameras before the digital. And I cut the cap. I put a hole in it and put it there. And then I found some like cheap shields at the dollar store, and that's what I made the glass out of, right? And I put glue.
Super
I glazed
creepy.
it with glue. What's that?
Super creepy. That's definitely ooey gooey. Love it.
It's like you don't even want to know what's under the mask.
Yeah. And then the bottom part is one of those magnetic containers they sell at the dollar store. So I put it there, and I had made a tutorial like a few weeks before about how to make teeth, and it's like a super cheap, easy way to make teeth, like a piece of like Sculpey, and then some teeth made out of hot glue. And I had them laying around from that tutorial, so then I put them in there like a set of teeth over the clear thing, and the container from the dollar store comes like that. And then on top is just a piece. I haven't even unfolded that piece of creepy cloth. I just put it on top. And then the paint and everything is just probably food coloring. Yeah.
The Death's Head moth. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to make some bugs, so I went and I was learning to sculpt. That was right after Monster Camp, so I went and sculpted this bug out of like clay, and I made a little mold over it, a tiny little mold, and I casted it out, and I said, this looks pretty cool. So then I went and made a tutorial on it, a video on it, and the paint is just the acrylic, the cheap ones from Walmart, that dollar brand, like the lowest they sell there for like, $5 for like 10 colors. The wings they sell these little butterflies at the dollar store that have some clips, and you can clip it on your hair or whatever. And I cut the wings out, and I looked at the pictures from Silence of the Lambs and saw that shape of the wing. So I cut that shape and then painted it with acrylic. The antenna and the legs are wire stuck into the latex. The body's latex. So I made a mold, and the body of the moth is latex. And then those shadow boxes are from IKEA, and the labels are labels that I designed myself and then aged with either coffee or tea stain.
Nice.
Fantastic.
All right, that was from my latex crazy era. So all this is polyfill stuffing, right? So for the kidney, all I did is made a ball out of polyfill and made a sheet of liquid latex on a flat surface, and that right there is just mixing all the colors from food coloring, and it makes it like super dirty brown. And the more layers you put, the browner it gets. So I wrapped just a big ball of polyfill with the latex, and what looks like where the kidney gets attached to the rest of the body, it's all that crumpled latex, and it sticks to each other before it finishes curing. And it gets darker like that. And I took Walmart blood and just dabbed it over and threw some forceps there. The piece of brain is exactly the same thing. So I grabbed some polyfill and made some little tubes, and then I painted some strips of liquid latex. Again, mixed all the colors I could find of the food coloring, put the polyfill and wrapped them, and made a long pieces, and then looked at a picture of our brain to see what shapes it would take, and that made a little piece. And then I used that to set up to set up a scene for my Texas Chainsaw Massacre mask. Yeah.
That is brilliant use of latex and polyfill for sure.
And this is like Wicked Makers, great stuff with lights under it. Then it has a hole to a cauldron that we got at a store on clearance. We usually go after Halloween to like Michael's and all the craft stores and try to buy the stuff that I could use. And it has a hole through it, right? And then I threw a thing of string lights that they sell purple ones during Halloween, and it comes with a little battery pack and has like 10 of them. I just crumpled them and put them in there. And then I ran that tube, you can see it behind. I ran one of my fog machines, part of the fog towards the cauldron. So it comes under into the foam and goes up into the cauldron. And then the fog comes out and, it mushrooms and fills the cauldron and just goes up. Ah, yes. I know a lot of people on Instagram send me pictures of Ashley's creations from It Came From Under My Bed and said, can you do this? And I said, sure. And I'll try. So again, I had just come back from Monster Camp. So I went and sculpted this was probably the easiest sculpt because you just need a circle, right? And then you cut the eyes out, and I kind of gave it a little relief for the eyebrows, eyes, like the eyelids, the edges, and then the nose. And then the mouth is just like a big slit, and maybe we tried to make some lips. I put a couple of those acrylic teeth in there. And then I watched, I had to go and search Martha Stewart making a pie to see how you get the edge. And I saw that you use a fork. So then I bought some pie tins, filled it up with great stuff, and shaved it back down, and then laid the piece of latex. I had made a mold from the sculpt out of plaster, laid it on top, and then painted it with brown, black, red. The foam, the great stuff inside the eyes, nose, and mouth is just the great foam painted with like red, just red color. That's all it is. And then the edges, I put mix of red and kind of like burnt in the oven, kind of crispy edge. All right, that is a paper mache skull. This is one of my earlier props, and I took the paper mache skull and cut the lower jaw off, and then the teeth are those Halloween teeth that we used to have I used to have when I was little, that you would put in your mouth, and they are kind of like plastic. And I just hot glue them there, corpsed it with some toilet paper glue, dry brushed it with browns, greens. The eyes are those little gems that you can buy at the dollar store, those little glass gems. And I glued some iris prints on the back. And those are like follow me eyes. If you look at it from the side, the eye kind of like moves and follows you. So it's pretty cool. The hair was one of those square pieces they sell at Michael's. I went and looked at all the different fur things, and this one looks cool. So then I cut it, and I had to research how they make dolls to put the hair right. So there's a hairline above the actual hairline that is just that stuff glued on, and then the hairs that make the actual hairline are hairs that I actually cut and then glued along the line of the hairline. What else? And then I just had one of those bases from one of the craft stores, took the skull, put some hot glue on it and glued it under, and then hung it right there. And made a video on it about it.
Yeah. It looks awesome.
Yeah, and then the cheeks here between the jaw is just a piece of toilet paper soaked in glue, right? Hanging there. I think I learned that from one of you guys in one of the earlier videos 5-6 years ago.
Very cool.
Awesome. Now, Eduardo, how long? I mean, I love how you budget everything. Like I heard you say a lot of Dollar Tree, Goodwill, all those different things. I mean, how long do you spend on certain projects when you're getting into the thick of these?
The one thing I told myself, and I have the camera right here, that I would do this YouTube channel. At that time, I was working with my wife to pay all of our debts, so that we were not going to spend any money on making anything. And this was not supposed to be a YouTube channel anyway. So all the stuff was clearance stuff or dollar store stuff. And the camera was, we had some leftover gift cards from our wedding, and I put them all together. And with that, I bought the camera that I started videoing with, so that from the first day, I wanted Monster Tutorials to pay for itself. It was not going to be any of my wife's money or mine. So budgeting was very important the first few years, and I'm getting into like more sophisticated things like the resins and the latexes and silicas, which are more expensive. But I always try to find a way to use other materials and mix them in and either make it really easy or really cheap, both, right?
Yeah, awesome. Eduardo, thank you so much. Again, everyone, you could find their links in the description up top of the live feed. So, Facebook, YouTube, everything that you're looking for tutorials and everything. Eduardo, thank you so much for sharing everything. You have amazing work. Keep it up, and we can't wait to see what new stuff you come out with.
Thank you. No, thanks for inviting me. That is awesome.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll see you at MHC.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Move it over to Wicked Makers.
So this is an endless drinking skeleton. That's what we call it. So it's basically we took a target skeleton, and our technique for it's not fully corpse, but we usually use a wood stain and go over the kind of white plastic, and we use like an oil-based wood stain and kind of smear it all over, let it dry. And then once it dries, it gives it just kind of a real dirty look, which kind of, looks like a skeleton just climbed out of the dirt or whatever. And then we got a bunch of like clothes from Goodwill and just dirtied them up and threw paint and stuff all over them. And then the bottle is basically this was inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean. So there's a part on the ride where there's like a skeleton just leaning back, and the way they do it is not the same exact thing, but the effect is that the bottle just kind of like pours into his mouth forever. So we used a pond pump and like ran the hose kind of up around the back of the arm and like into the bottle. So if you look at this, it just pours wine into his mouth forever.
Mm-hmm. And that is a plastic wine bottle. The glass one would have been really heavy and hard to. So there's a hole drilled into the side of it, and we didn't want to drill into the glass. So yeah, it's a plastic wine bottle that we aged up a little bit.
What color stain did you guys use for the skeleton?
Any brown, just like
walnuts, probably.
Yeah,
we had on hand.
Like a dark walnut is usually like it's a great if you're a woodworker and you have a bunch of random old finishes and stains and stuff, like it's perfect for that. Just any random old brown will work pretty good.
I think he was looking for amber shellac.
Katrina would like to know, what kind of pump mechanism did you guys use and how did you rig it?
So that was a roughly 300 gallons per hour pond pump. We actually tried a smaller one and didn't work, and learned that in the video, which another big mistake we made then. But yeah, it's like one of the ones you just see in a pond fountain, like for a backyard fountain. And then it's just like that he's sitting in a basin filled with water that we dyed red with food coloring. And then the hose is basically runs up the back of him and is hidden. And then the skeleton, we do this a lot. Like we take the skeletons from the store and we break them apart into pieces and reposition them into the pose we want. Because often they'll move and they'll sort of like be real basic, right? Like you can do this with it, but it's not enough to give you like a really nice pose that actually looks
natural.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic video, you guys. I highly suggest you go subscribe to Wicked Makers, to all of our guests tonight, but the tutorial video for this guy was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
It was fun. A lot of fun to make.
Like just breaking stuff and putting it back together is a lot.
This was one of our first Halloween projects, was the gate. And our goal for this was literally to be the absolute cheapest gate or fence possible. So we've seen them with the PVC pipe, and PVC pipes are relatively expensive when you're looking for a long distance. And so we found the crappiest warped wood possible.
Like when you go to like Home Depot and it's like the junk pile of wood. Like I think like we just grabbed all that stuff. Yeah, and again, old wood stain, just not concerned about the color, like whatever you have. If you go to like, you can get that stuff used too. Like if you go to like a Habitat for Humanity store or like the restores, or like, because tons of people end up with these half finished cans of, wood stain that they're never going to use. And you can get that stuff for free half the time. It's perfect for these types of projects because it just looks old and grimy and dirty.
Yeah.
So yeah, just throw it on the wood, let it dry. And then what's the name of it's just like a spider webby.
Yeah, it was a brown spider web that they don't actually make anymore, but it was brown, really cool brown spider web. And then it's just nailed together with a nail gun and some wood glue, and
wrapped with twine.
And then wrapped with twine on some of the bigger joints there.
Yeah, our whole fence is made up of those things. Are about 4 feet wide, 4 or 5-ish feet high, and we have like, I don't know, maybe like 20 of them, and it wraps our whole yard.
So how'd you stake them down? You just
the two on the end are we cut them so they're pointy, so we hammer.
Vampire stake style, and then we just hammer them in the ground.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Stephen Freeman would like to know, is there a big facade build for your yard in the near future?
Man, I'd love to. I don't know where we'd store something like that. I've seen some stuff. I love Hollywood Haunters facades. Witching Hour had their Michael Myers facade that was really cool. We're kind of out of space.
Yeah,
That's always the question. Where are you going to store it?
Yeah, always.
Absolutely.
And then most of us usually answer with everywhere.
Yeah.
Keep it all in here.
This one, again, this was the simplest project imaginable. It's a tiki torch with a plastic target skull. We cut a hole in it with a utility knife. And the skull is we use that wood stain trick all the time on those cheap plastic skulls from the store or skeletons and stuff. So you can kind of see it here, like it seeps into all the cracks, and it gives you it really makes it look a lot more realistic, especially at night. And then you just cut a hole in it and stick it. That's like the simplest project.
It was glued on. I think those tiki torches have been in our yard for years, so the rope that held them together had fallen off, so we rewrapped them with twine.
Yep.
Did you have any issues, Dylan would like to know, with the flame warping the skulls at all?
No, not at all.
No.
And we let them run for hours and hours too. Never had a problem.
Man, you guys lit this chicken wire ghost beautifully. Man,
I'm gonna say that's
pretty.
the best I've ever seen.
Yep, 100%.
This was fun. It's our chicken wire ghost. We found a mannequin on Facebook Marketplace that we used to do for the body and the arms for that, and then kind of just freeform the skirt, and tons and tons and tons of little wires for the hair there. Let's see what else. The lighting on it was a couple of those. I think they're called like the fire and ice lights, so it kind of gave it that extra movement when it was floating around there.
Yeah, it's like a multicolored light that rotates, so it gives it this multicolored effect that sort of ends up shining and moving around the place. And for the dress, this thing again, I mean, this is full size, so it's including the dress and all the the what do you call the tip, like the
Skirt,
but the bottom of the dress,
like the train.
Yeah, the train. Thank you. It's probably like 7 or 8 feet long, and we cut it all into little pieces and let it flow all out and everything. Cut ourselves many times.
Yes.
But that was super fun.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question.
And
That was Wanda that asked that. Yep.
It's hard to work with.
So how many layers of? I mean, I know you could form it. I mean, I'm just asking for the people watching, because I watched the video. But how many layers of wire did you put on the arm just to give it the fullness of it?
I think the arms are 2 layers. The arms and the body, I think, are 2 layers. The skirt's just 1 layer.
Yeah, I actually tried. I wanted wherever possible for it to be 1 layer, because I felt like I wanted it to be as translucent as possible and try to really have that barely visible effect. But I think for the body and basically the whole upper body ended up being 1.5-ish 2, but then the bottom we tried to keep 1 wherever we could.
Bobby would like to know, what did you use for the lighting? Because wow, those colors are incredible.
Yeah, it was one of those rotating fire and ice type lights, and I think there was 2 of them. I think we lit it from 2 different sides.
There's one that's got a pink and purple kind of look that's in the front, and then there was a green and yellowish light that was in the back. I don't know if they were both the moving lights. I think the pink and purple one was, and then the green was just one of those those LED yard lights that you can get where you can use the remote to change the different colors.
So this one, very similar. We took a skeleton from Target. We didn't stain this one. We should have.
We should have.
But I don't remember why, but we didn't. But we we broke him into lots of pieces, and we actually took a heat gun on the spine. And so I always get I'm real picky about the pose of the stuff, and it drives me crazy when you have this very stiff skeleton that looks like a robot, and it's like. So I really like to figure out okay, if I were a skeleton climbing out of the dirt, what I'm you're like reaching for the nearest trick-or-treater, to tear I try to figure out what that pose would really look like, and then figure out what do I have to break to make the skeleton do that. A lot of heat, very slow heat on the spine, and we slowly melted the plastic and bent it into the right pose, and broke the joints in the arms and re-glued them on with hot glue. And we have a trick we use for gluing them where we'll tack it with hot glue just so it stays, and then we'll fill it with clear Gorilla Glue. And the clear Gorilla Glue is ultimately where you get the strength. But
so the hot glue is just mainly to get it to stick immediately, and then you reinforce it with the Gorilla Glue after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tacks it in place.
Yeah, and then
They live in Texas, man. It's not going to last.
Yeah, right? One day. Done.
Yeah. Even in October, midday, the sun will melt your hot glue in
Yeah.
This is something I definitely want to do to my house, man. I watched videos. It's awesome.
Yeah, these are our Pirates of the Caribbean fire windows, FX straight out of Pirates of the Caribbean. It's made with silver kind of satiny material that's hung from the top. And then underneath is a big box fan. So that's blowing up and making the fabric billow. We did secure the fabric at the bottom with another long pole so it's not flying all the way up. And then there are two just LED kind of lights. One from each corner. Yeah, floodlights.
Of each window.
And one was red. Sorry. There was a red and an orange that we used for that.
We did a lot of experimenting with the color of the light too. And one thing that's cool with this effect is you can make a magical, kind of mystical flame real easy. You use a green and purple light, or really any kind of color you want. You can put silhouettes in the windows, and you could do I remember that year the movie Maleficent came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, you should put a Maleficent, silhouette in the window with purple fire." And so you can experiment a lot with it, but it looks, 100% realistic.
From a distance.
Yeah, from a distance. There's no smoke. You could do smoke with a fog machine, but we didn't on purpose because people freaked out because they thought it was real, and. Oh my gosh, the fire department's gonna come. Our neighbor's a fireman, luckily, and we talk to him about it. Don't run this all the time. It was it's pretty incredible. But again, straight out of Disneyland. We didn't make this
so
up.
Easy to do.
Yeah, it's like a sheet and a fan and a light, and you can make this at home. It's so cool.
Nice. I'm gonna do that.
This
I
one's
love this guy. Love that silhouette.
Thanks. He was our scarecrow that we wanted to make. Was this the one that we made of the line pearl stuff?
No, we have two of them. The one for the video we made out of old fence boards.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we had torn down some fence, great use for old scrap wood again. You could either use acrylic paint to kind of dirty it up. There's that if you're brave, you can use fire and scar, scorch the wood and make it look all burned and black. But you can just use paint or spray paint.
Yeah, we just used some white paint and black there, yeah.
And then that's a plastic pumpkin jack-o'-lantern from from the Halloween store, and just gave it a really cool paint job. I think you.
Yeah, we painted the insides. So instead of that white color in the inside of the mouth, we painted that black, and then kind of did a dry brushing in the cracks there to give it that kind of rotted look. And yeah, then the material there is just cheesecloth that we had dyed with some.
Tea, I think.
I think I used some watered down acrylics for that one.
Okay. Oh yeah. So this thing is about 10 or 11 feet long. Absolutely massive giant spider. This is made from chicken wire form that we wrapped in saran wrap, and then great stuff foam all around it. We went for kind of like a rough, I don't know how to say it, like it's not smooth. It's like this rough kind of like real. There's like holes all over it. And It's kind of weird texture on it.
Or a rotting spider.
Yeah, totally. And then the legs are made from
pipe insulation.
Yes, yep, pipe like.
It's basically like a pool noodle but black.
Yep. And we got them in different sizes, so the legs are, we looked at a lot of spider pictures and tried to like get the proportions all correct and everything. So they kind of get a little smaller towards the end, and we were able to use like a heat gun and kind of seal them back together and stuff. And it's wild. And then for the eyes, we used clear Christmas ornaments. And there's a really cool trick that Jaime figured out so you take a clear Christmas ornament and you paint the inside of it black. So the outside is just plastic and it maintains the gloss and the real shiny look, but the inside is black and it makes a perfect spider eye. So, I think we got a whole bag of those clear ornaments for like $5 or something. And, you can make tons of eyes with them. And but that's probably
a great idea.
These are our tombstones. We had to do tombstones. I think Van Oaks had done some that we were definitely inspired by. Tombstones were actually one of our first props, like way back when, but those were made of like the white foam, and I think I tried to spray paint them, and it completely melted. We didn't know anything then.
But these are made from XPS foam, 2 inches thick. Similar to the Dark Portal project, we texture it with, you can spray water on the foam and then use a heat gun to give it a really cool kind of broken up kind of stony texture. If you go straight to heat gun, it will melt it and it doesn't work quite as well. But a nice little trick is just take a spray bottle, make it wet, and then take the heat gun to it lightly, and it gives it a really cool stony texture. And then you went to town with like just a sharp utility knife, cut all sorts of cracks and stuff.
And then the words are just done with a rotary tool, a Dremel that.
Yeah, and then it's covered in a stuff called dry lock, which is a masonry sealer. So it's actually what they use to cover like stone walls and stuff. So it waterproofs it, but it also gives it this very stone-like texture. And then from there, we painted the heck out of it with lots of acrylic paints. I think we started with like a gray. Well, the dry lock is gray. But then, like lots of browns and greens for like, mildew and lichen and stuff like that. And just try to make it look really old. The tombstones are hundreds of years old. So try to make it look, I don't know, what makes something look old, right?
Right. I love the browns and the white on there. Makes it look really good.
XPS foam, it's the pink stuff from Home Depot that we use.
Yeah, that's the fancy name for
it. The fancy name. I like it. We did have a question about whether or not you let your front yard go into overgrowth for the Halloween season or not. Yeah.
As soon as the props go down, the mowing stops.
I try to time it so like I think the last, like I mow the lawn like maybe the last week of September, and then all the props come out and we just let it grow.
That's excellent.
And we actually have, like, our setup has a path through the yard, so I let the grass grow, and then maybe like as it starts to grow, I mow a pathway through the yard, so it creates like a use the grass to your advantage and create like a cool little path, and we kind of line it with torches and stuff.
Yeah, my bummer is they don't have any trees in my yard, so that would be good for that.
Shay would like to know if you freehand the lettering on your tombstones.
No. Those out. We had just gotten a Cricut machine, so we were having fun with that. We made our stencils with that. But I've also heard you can just print them out on paper and kind of lightly glue them on and Dremel over the printed areas for that.
Yeah, just use like an old timey font.
There was a quick question from Katrina about the chest behind you, and Katrina, I would definitely suggest you go watch the video for sure. That will tell you a lot. One of their most fun videos for sure.
Pirate treasure chest. back here. You can see that. There we go. So this whole thing is made from foam. So it's very light, and we've 3D printed some parts. So this is like a 3D printed skull, and there's some on the sides here as well. So we get the handles, and then it's kind of neat. Like you can see it kind of.
Oh, dude,
I love that the jaws are detachable.
awesome.
That's so great. Yes.
And
I love that.
but we got inspired for this one by I love pirates. I'm all about pirate stuff. And there's a video game called Sea of Thieves, which is a super cool pirate game, and it has just one of my favorite art styles, and that's what this is from. And then this thing is worth shouting out. So this is basically like a little mini fog machine, and it is
That is cool.
So we built. It's better to watch in the video, but basically there's a thing inside here where a tube runs out and comes out behind this skull, and so it basically does this.
Nice.
Love it. Okay, I need the link for that mini fog machine. Post haste.
Yeah.
So it's all like automated and stuff. So this is all hidden inside there, and we have a remote where when people walk up to it, it like starts to pulse and glow, and like fog comes out of its face, and this is super cool. This is a really neat little toy.
Dude,
Basically,
I've never seen one before ever.
Definitely share it to the Hangout if you can.
Yes,
So,
please.
absolutely. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate you guys sharing all your knowledge, all your builds, all your expertise. Really, really thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And definitely check out all their work, guys, on their Facebook links, their YouTube links, everything that we said before in the description above. And yeah, can't wait to see what you guys come up with for this year. So
Yeah, thanks for having
absolutely.
Thank
All
you.
right. Dalton, coming to you.
Oh,
Nice.
I love this. So good.
right. This right here. Say you like pirates. This is from the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I actually built this when the first trailer came out. So we really only had like this quick glimpse of this trident, and I had no idea what it was. But then there was also this picture that surfaced of a costume display of the trident at Disneyland, I believe. And from that, I like took images of that and figured out the size of it. And I actually carved the entire thing out of expanded polystyrene. Again, I think that styrofoam was a find, like behind a dumpster somewhere, like thrown out of a furniture store. And it's all glued on top of a PVC pipe core. And then I went in a little bit different. Instead of hard coating the foam like I normally would, I actually coated the entire thing with black warbler. So I would take a sheet of the black warbler, and I would heat it up and bake almost kind of like I was vacuum forming it onto the polystyrene, except without a vacuum underneath it. I would just heat it up, and I like worked it into all the cracks and everything, and I did it on both sides. And where the seam met on the sides, where the two sheets of plastic came together, I went in with a soldering iron, or with a wood burning tip on it, the flat ones, and just basically rubbed it right on there, and it blended everything out. And then all the little crustaceans and everything, all the little barnacles were just all the scrap pieces of warble I had left over. I would heat up and roll into shapes, and you can sculpt it just like clay, and then almost weld it together with the soldering iron, like melt the plastic on one side, stick it on. Yeah, and then I just painted it up with acrylics. Took it out to the beach.
Looks awesome.
No, none of my weapons come apart for storage, which is a huge mistake. So, this is okay. A little bit of backstory. This is my Disco Yeti. Now, this is my first time making a fursuit and a fur-covered mask. I'm not a furry, not yet, anyways. This is based off of, if you are a Disney Parks fan, at Animal Kingdom at Disney World, there is an Expedition Everest ride that takes place in Mount Everest, and inside of said mountain is a Yeti. It was the biggest animatronic ever built, but it broke a few years after opening, and so it was just like stand still, and they put a strobe light on it and call it the Disco Yeti. So I decided I'm gonna make the Disco Yeti, and I made the whole mask and everything. It is the front half of the mask was a latex and cotton sculpt that I did on a plaster cast of my face I had, and the whole back half of the mask is all EVA foam. And then I just laid all of the fur onto it separately. And the jaw was actually a fully separate piece that the jaw would strap onto my head first, and then the rest of the mask would come on over that. So it was fully posable. I could talk in it. The teeth and nose were more of that polymorph plastic. Same with the nails. I actually sculpted the polymorph plastic into claws that fit onto my nails. I would glue it on with nail glue. And the feet were some old shoes I had that I just covered in fur and added claws to. And then I sewed a pair of bell bottoms that fit and found a Party City shirt and just sewed my little heart away. This is actually from the Transworld Costume Ball this year. That is me as Captain Cutler's ghost from Scooby-Doo.
I saw you. I'm so sorry I didn't know it was you. I would have totally said hello. Look at that. Awesome.
That was me right there in the mask. There's my boyfriend as Catwoman next to me. I made the cowl for them as well. Both pieces are L200 foam. And this is, I mentioned earlier, where if you're ever on a time crunch, I think it's great to find a pattern that someone else has created, even if it's not exactly what you need, which is what I was able to do with both of these pieces. I found a superhero cowl, and I found a diving helmet pattern that I liked that were similar to what I needed, but weren't exactly. So I kind of put the base pattern together and then just altered some of the shapes on it to make it fit exactly what I needed, both for my head shape as well as to fit the character more. I think the pattern I found for the dive helmet was an accurate recreation of a U.S. military one, but I wanted it to be more cartoony, so I made the holes bigger on it. I changed things like that, the busted grates on it, and then the interior lighting on my face was actually those battery-powered puck lights you can get. And I found some that were green, and I just stuck them all on the inside, as well as a miniature personal fan that vents air in through one of those hoses and blows it onto me. I could hardly hear what anyone was saying to me when they came up to me that night, because the fan was so loud, but it kept me cool, and I appreciated it. But yeah, that was the most recent thing I did. Here you can see a closer look. And something I ended up really enjoying on this, I was so rushed. I did this in an afternoon one day, the Sunday before we were leaving for Transworld, and I didn't have time to finish all the seams. So what I ended up doing was just going over all of them with hot glue, and then it gave them a really cool welded look at all the metal joints. And I was really happy with how it turned out. And you can't see, but it's actually also covered fully in UV reactive paint. So as well as, so was my whole jumpsuit and the creepy cloth and the seaweed and everything on me, because his story was he dressed up as a ghost, but all he really did was put some bioluminescent algae all over himself. So under black light, it glows a nice vibrant green as well. It was really cool.
Let's see. Christina would like to know, how do you decide where you start on your costumes? Ton of ideas, but afraid to start and fear messing it up.
I mean, honestly, I would say there's you can't really mess up, or the worst case scenario, you mess up and you learned what not to do. It's like I said earlier, sometimes I'll watch tutorials and either the person will actually mess up in a video and you're learning from their mistake, or they do something and you don't quite like their end product, so you learned what not to do, and you're doing that same thing. You are building a costume, maybe it's your first time using a new material, a new method. You mess up, that's great. Now you know what not to do. You're one step closer to doing the right thing, and you might end up finding a better method. So many things I've done, like I know I don't have any formal training in there, or just school or anything. I've only learned because I've just done it. So I would say do your best to just ignore that fear and just make stuff that you're passionate about and have fun, and it's probably going to turn out amazing.
Wise words, my friend, wise words. And of course, Dylan wants to know, how did you drink in that thing?
A straw. Yes. I had to have a straw, and I would lean over and push the top of the cup into the front hole and then reach the straw just barely to my lips. And big sips. Make every sip worth it. This is my current Halloween display that I have. Many of the pieces of it are scattered. It was used. This is a picture from this past year, Halloween. This is the entranceway to my home. I've always really loved plants. So that's why you can see I have a big piranha plant monster right there who would breathe fog on trick-or-treaters as they would walk up. And then I've got some really cool vines that I really enjoyed making. They're all latex coated. So they stood up in the weather. They're going on 4 years now, and they've held up really well. I really love them. All the hanging pumpkins. Oh gosh, that's my favorite part of this thing. I was able to find some cafe lights, just the like classic hanging lights with the bulbs, but they had flame bulbs built into them. So what I did is those are actually the dollar store pumpkins. And I just cut the tops off of them and put it over that, and then corpsed them up a little bit. And all the vines covering up the cord is just some rope with some great stuff coated on top of it, and then spray painted green. And I just made a bunch of long strands of that and sort of braided it around the cores of the light, zip tying it every so often, and left some hanging down. And trick-or-treaters loved it.
Absolutely, and of course, here's the busted. You don't have a video for how you made those, do you? I don't remember.
For the vine, yes, I do.
Yeah. Oh, you do? Oh, yay, Michelle, you're in luck.
I do. I have a full video on how I made those.
Please go and subscribe to him on YouTube. It's Dalton James, if memory serves. Yeah.
Yes, youtube.com/DaltoDiddy. And these are some tentacles that I made. These are similar to the vines in the manner that the base of them is pool noodles. Except these also have a wire core running through them. And what I did was, I don't remember what gauge wire I used, but it was pretty thick because they needed to be, this was a commissioned project for a photo shoot, and they needed to be posed and hold their pose for extended periods of time. So there's a wire core, which is glued to the inside of the noodles. And then the ends of them were just glued down. I put some contact cement in there and glued them flat, and then just sculpted them using a Olfa knife down to a point. And each individual ridge along the pool noodle, I experimented with some different things. At first I tried to carve each one, but what worked the best was actually just taking some monofilament fishing line and tying a knot to give that recessed edge every once in a while, because it kept the foam down like nothing else would. And then the suction cups are actual suction cups that I first took a soldering iron, poked a little hole into the foam, and then I believe contact cemented them inside the pool noodle. And then I just very heavily coated the entire exterior with latex. And again, I like to use thick-bodied acrylic paints, and I will mix those into my latex. And I use a very thick latex. The brand I like to use is called Mold Builder. And it mixes really well with the acrylic paints, and then you can actually stipple the layers on one by one. And I want to say each of these tentacle has like 6 to 10 layers of latex on it. I really caked it in to disguise the fact that those were just like store-bought suction cups. And then it's
Did
great.
you find those at like a Dollar Tree, or where did you source all those
I
suction
bought
cups?
them in bulk on Amazon, and I've got them in 3 different sizes, I believe. And I was able to find them just by looking up like normal suction cups, and I got like bags of them by the 100 for like $10 or less.
Excellent, right on.
Now this, okay, again, one of my favorite things I've ever done. During the pandemic, I transformed my entire house and backyard into Adventureland, sort of a combination between Disneyland and Disney World's Adventureland. This is a shot from the living room where I made some XPS foam panels of the totems that are inside the Tiki room. And those just cover the sides of the entertainment center. I put up the Trader
That's your
Sam's.
living room?
It is.
Oh my god.
That's awesome. Oh, man.
It stayed that way for a few months, all culminating in a big Adventureland escape room themed party, which I filmed the whole thing, and it's on my YouTube channel. But I just invited my friends over for a party. We had all like, it was the first time we were seeing anybody after the pandemic. It was a small group of us, and I didn't tell them what was going to happen, and then just sort of sprung everything. I timed all the effects with like the TV window and the lighting overhead, and it was a blast. And those palm trees, that's something I have not made a video on yet, but I would like to soon, is the leaves on those. The palm trees themselves, these are just small ones. I wasn't even able to include a picture, but elsewhere in the room there's some, I believe they're 20-foot tall palm tree. We have one spot with a very high ceiling. So the trunks of the trees themselves are actually concrete form tubes in various sizes, and I just cut them into a bunch of segments and then sort of tucked them inside each other like Legos to like stack it up super tall. And the leaves themselves is actually like 2 millimeter thick EVA foam with a wire sandwich between them, and then cut and painted. And they worked beautiful because I could not find for the life of me anywhere online giant fake palm leaves. I had to make it myself. And this is more of those Tiki guys. These are all.
Wait, hold up 1 second, Dalton.
Sorry.
1 second. You're good. But I need to. Phil, can you bring him spotlight for a second?
Oh, spotlight? Yeah.
Yep. So it's driving Trish absolutely crazy. She wants to know about the shark behind you.
Oh, that's actually not a shark. So if you remember in the front of my house, like I told you, the plant that breathes fog, this is actually the head of it. I took it off of its base just to stick it back there for y'all. The inside of it, the teeth are all just more of that polymorph plastic. And then the exterior of it is actually EVA foam that I heat shrunk a bunch of plastic onto and then painted.
Awesome.
He also shot fog out of himself.
Very cool. All right. Thank you, Phil.
This is the backyard of said Adventureland party, which has been upgraded since then.
Oops.
Which I'm working on some videos now to show that off. But these guys, if you've ever, again, been to Adventureland at Disney World, they have these water-spitting Tiki totems. And so, obviously, I couldn't sculpt these giant, big three-dimensional ones, but I made some plywood cutouts of them and painted them up. But what made it fun was I ran sprinkler lines to all of them. Just like if you were to put in a sprinkler system in your backyard, you can get like a small junction that just plugs into your water hose, and then it's like 8 to 10 little heads that spit off to it to just tiny vinyl tubing. And I ran that up to the back of it, put little sprinkler heads on each of them, and they all shot water out of them like little fountains, which is really cool because I think you can take this same effect and incorporate it to some like Halloween cutouts for your friend.
So many different applications for that, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is something I've done recently that I'm very excited about. One of the first props I ever made when I was young was a big, like, I say big, it was like 3 feet tall, but it was a cave like in coral, and it was like purple, it had all these coral and like glowing eyes in it. And I finally got the chance. Now that I help manage a professional haunt now, it's pirate themed, it's called Terror Isle. But I got a chance to do the same thing basically, but large scale. So this is all a polystyrene sculpture on a wall. The sheets are just like glued straight to it. And I just carved them all to look like some coral rock. And I chose to go with like a more colorful paint job instead of just like gray rocks. And for the coral, I actually went, instead of buying artificial coral because it's extremely expensive, I went to the craft store when floral picks were half off, bought a bunch of those, and we painted them up to look like coral. And a lot of them have black light on them too, so when you put black light on it, it's sort of
that looks really good, man.
a bioluminescent wall.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That looks
yes.
expensive.
I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, because you are not.
Hey, I've been doing this long enough. That looks pretty expensive.
Yeah, this is a bigger one. So this tree is another polystyrene sculpture, which I've done a lot of ever since I started doing like set design and prop building professionally. It's what I've done the most of. It's how I've gotten a lot of my jobs. People have seen my styrofoam carving work. But this is just a wooden base that was anchored to the concrete wall behind it with all the branches coming out. And then I just sculpted each branch on top of that. And then it's hard coated with a synthetic Deco. I believe it's called Synergy. It's essentially a really thick outdoor acrylic house paint with grit inside of it. Kind of like dry lock, but to the extreme. And it doesn't get rock hard. It's still a little bit flexible, but it's very hard to penetrate, and it works really well. As opposed to the coral wall was actually hard coated with foam coat from Hot Wire Foam Factory. Mm-hmm. Their exterior foam coat that was mixed up and loaded into a hopper and sprayed on. That, however, is my favorite foam coat. It's nice and rock solid. Yeah, and then we just hung a bunch of jute and synthetic vines. Oh, and this, I had to put this in here. It's my favorite sculpture to date that I've done. This is actually in a treasure chamber of a pirate who hoards artifacts from around the world that contain magical powers. So this was stolen from like a Mayan civilization and brought to his island fortress. And this again is just a big relief carved out of styrofoam. It's 8 foot by 4 foot panels, 3 of them up there, kind of split up, you can see. And
is that your house too?
This is not my house. This is at
like, dude, that's a party right there.
No. This is at Terror Isle Haunted Attraction in Texas. And it was all carved using rasps and wire brushes and sandpaper and a lot of freaking time. And it's hard coated as well with that synthetic stucco. How many hours did this one take?
Mm-hmm.
I started it alone. And I ended up getting an assistant to help me finish it. It probably took a solid 2 full work weeks of just sculpting, and then, a day of hard coating, another week probably of painting. So a lot of time and work. It was a big scale project.
Nice.
Worth it.
Sure. Amazing, you guys. Thank you all.
Dalton. Yeah, Dalton, thank you so much, man. Keep up the great work. Can't wait to see what you got coming in the future here. And guys at the panel, thank you guys for coming on tonight. We know we went over a little bit, but thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing all your knowledge. Yeah. So Pandora, I'm gonna pass it over to you.
Thank you, Jay and Jamie, Wicked Makers. Thank you, Eduardo, Talbert, Monster Tutorials. Thank you, Dalton James Hildebrand from Deltodity. We are so very, very grateful for all three of you. Thank you. Apologies, four of you. We are super grateful for you all being here. It was really great to just kind of go through and see everybody's makings and to talk about how it's done. So we are so grateful. If y'all have time, there were plenty of questions that we did not get to tonight. If you have time and are willing to go back through the feed of tonight's show and maybe give a few answers here or there, we would be super grateful to you as well. And with that, we have some fantastic prizes to give away from our sponsors. Thank you again, sponsors. Please make sure you go visit them for all your haunt needs. And tonight's winners are from Toxic Effects, The Rotten Pumpkin, Rue Newman.
Woo-hoo.
From the Horror Ornaments, Rattlesnake Ornament, Jay Olson.
Jay.
Fright Night Studios, The Pig Leg, Ryan Visengard. From Scarlet Badges, 10 assorted badges of your choice, Greg Cummings. From 916 Productions, $25 off, Shannon Dolise II. From Halloween Shirt Company, The Free Shirt, Shannon Levac.
Make sure you give us your size.
You heard him. Make sure you give him your size. Froggy's Fog, Gallon of Bog Fog to Jacob Logeman. From Ned's
Yeah.
Yo.
Sorry.
From Ned's LEDs, the FX controller with 2 peepers, Michelle Brown.
Pandora don't let me clap. She's like, don't clap, don't do nothing. Like,
Well, you need to get an official clap track again so that it's perfectly timed and I know exactly when to spring in with the next one.
Yeah.
From Drop Dead Design Studios, 25% off, Dylan Hall. Nightmare Makers, 2 Unfinished Skulls, Drake A. Carpenter. Sam Haynes, free download, Bruce McIntosh. Atmos Effects, free download, Tim Johnson. Fright Props, $25 off, Shay Nathaniel Freeman. Rotten Prop Works, set of zombie arms, Janet Bates.
Janet.
Monsters Alive, the grab bag gift is to Sean Boswell. Cobwebs and Candlesticks grab bag gift to Katrina Manis. Monster Tutorials sticker pack to Jeff Foster. Thank you for that, Eduardo. Congratulations to all our winners tonight.
Woo, 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 woo.
Please make sure that you contact Diablo no later than Saturday night to claim your prize. If you have not heard back from him by Monday, you may contact him again via messenger. If you have won a physical prize, please make sure that you include your physical address so that he can make sure to let our sponsors know where to send that to. And again, for specifically Shannon Levac, when you message Diablo, please make sure you include your shirt size for that as well. Congratulations, winners. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Yes. Thank you so much to our guests tonight. You were all amazing, and we were so, so, so blessed to have you guys with us tonight. Thank you again.
Yes, and if you want a prize, please share it to the Hangout. Show your appreciation, show your support to our sponsors. Create a post, get it out in the Hangout, show you the gift you received. We really appreciate that. Secondly, next week is our season finale. So VFX, who is another sponsor of ours, they are going to be giving away a big prize. You'll have to find out and tune in next week to figure out what it is. So we've been waiting all season for that one prize. So definitely VFX. Thank you guys for being another sponsor of ours. And I'm going to pass over to Diablo.
And that's it. All right. Thank you guys for coming out. We got one show left. It's been 10 years since we've been doing this show. We love all our sponsors. Make sure you go to them for all your hunt needs. We want to thank all the guests for coming out. We follow them, watch all their stuff, and all the stuff's awesome. And that's it. And I hope to see everybody next week.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good night.
See you all next week.